All right, thank you so much. Welcome to another episode of the award-winning Sales Game Changers podcast. My name is Fred Diamond. Of course, I'm the founder and the president of the Institute for Effective Professional Selling, and I'm very excited. We're going to be talking in a second to our good friend Kim Napolitano with Hilton, and I'm very excited. Our award event, Kim, it's our 16th annual award event. It's going to be coming up on April 29th in Northern Virginia. And I'm very excited that you are going to be the IEPS, Institute for Effective Professional Selling Partner of the Year. And it's quite interesting that you're going to be receiving that from us this year because you just got a very exciting promotion into a new role running global industry relations with Hilton. And we'll talk about that in a second. So for people who are interested, April 29th, it's going to be our 16th. It's going to be a great event. Go to theiEPS.com, theiEPS.com for more information. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. Give us a 5-star review. We would greatly appreciate it. All right. So Kim Napolitano, you've been on the podcast before, and we've gotten to know you through your role at Hilton, managing the industry relationships. And there's so many that you're now managing globally, not just in the Americas. And one of the partnerships that you've been managing for, I guess it's probably close to 4 to 5 years now, is with the Institute for Effective Professional Selling. You've been on, you've participated in our Women in Sales program. 2 years ago, Geraldine Horan, one of your sales leaders, received our Women in Sales Leadership Award. And with all that you do in the industry, and you and I've had numerous conversations about conscious leadership and just your role in what you're doing for sales professionals, not just in Hilton, but in the industry. And of course, we deal B2B, B2G. It's quite remarkable. And I'm so excited to be able to recognize you for this award. So again, you're now the Executive Director, Global Industry Relations. You focused on strengthening Hilton's partnerships with organizations. I'm just going to throw out some acronyms here: the ASAE, the IRF, the PCMA. You could tell us whatever detail you want to tell us about that. And, you know, just in sum, it's helping Hilton contribute and shape the evolution of global travel and the meetings ecosystem. And we're doing today's interview at the end of March of 2026. And we don't need to talk about the state of the world, but it's challenging. And sales professionals are going through a lot of things, and every company, especially in the hospitality space. I mean, it's been a interesting 5 years for your industry in general. So get us to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your role and what you're now doing at Hilton and what you're responsible for.
Well, thank you, Fred, very much for inviting me into the podcast. I really appreciate it. And you gave a great overview of what I'm doing. It's very exciting, this new role, global industry relations for Hilton Worldwide Sales. And my responsibility is to ensure that Hilton shows up into those spaces in a meaningful way with our partners, sharing insights and learning from our partners, contributing to industry conversations, and ultimately helping shape the future while driving value for our customers and our company. We see industry relations and the partnerships as a bridge and a connection to our customers.
So again, we're giving you our Partner of the Year award because you've been so helpful for us in understanding your industry and working with the women in sales in our community. And you've sent a number of the women in sales leaders at Hilton through the programs. Just define partners for our audience, Hilton partners. Again, you're one of our partners, but what does partnership mean to Hilton?
Partnership to Hilton is it's working with organizations where we can have shared goals to help lift both enterprises up. And how do we have the ability to bring thought leadership into the conversation to evolve the industry, allow us to bring our team members into the conversation to network and engage, and also an avenue for learning and development. And some of the organizations have more of a legislative component to it as well. So it's working with organizations that allow us to do just those things and be in alignment with the Hilton vision, mission, and values.
So, Hilton is one of the most recognized brands in the world, and you're often recognized as the top place to work, not just in hospitality, but in other industries. Hilton is headquartered. Again, I'm based in Northern Virginia. Hilton moved their headquarters here a couple of years ago, and I've seen some of your leaders speak, and it's such a we've gotten to be fortunate to get to know more about the brand. We've had, Frank Passanante on the podcast a couple of times. Um, Tell us about how the industry wants a partner with Hilton, or does everybody want to partner with Hilton? Because you're such a well-established, beloved brand historically. Give us some insights into that.
Well, we are one of the most recognizable brands in the world, so I can see why people would want to align with us. And most recently, being rated the number one or being acknowledged as the number one best place to work in the world, I can see why, again, organizations would want to align with Hilton. And we love that. We think that's great because we serve all people around the world, and we represent more than 9,000 hotels and more than 120, 130 countries worldwide. So we take a lot of pride at being of service to people as we fill the earth with the light and warmth of hospitality. We find that our partnerships are really important to us because they help create the bridge between our company and the broader industry community. And Fred, when we were chatting about this conversation, one thing came to mind is the fact that industry organizations and partner networks, this is where we're able to connect with our customers in environments where we're learning together. We're networking together, we're collaborating, and sometimes even advocacy for our industry to take place. And we've also found that these spaces allow us to share knowledge, understanding emerging trends, and it helps us to contribute to conversations that help move the industry forward. And we feel like this aligns so nicely to our founder's vision of filling the earth with light and warmth of hospitality. Because he recognized what we did, peace could abound through travel, and he recognized there was a much bigger play in just operating a hotel. It was somehow tied to making the world a better place as people could travel the world, experience different cultures, not only see the differences in the cultures, but celebrate the similarities in cultures too.
That would definitely make the world a better place, and
Yeah.
that's really well. I really enjoy the way you just explained that. I also just want to mention to people too that Hilton is an IEPS, Institute for Effective Professional Selling, premier sales employer. So congratulations on receiving those designations as well. So let's talk about you a little bit. So again, you manage a wide portfolio now globally of these partnerships, and again, I love the way you talked about the value in y'all coming together to make it better for people who are staying in properties and traveling. And we're all about wanting to make the world a better place too. So I love the way you say that. What brought you into this type of a work? Why are you now the industry leader for, or the leader at Hilton for global partnerships?
Fred, I was joking with some friends about this the other day, and it's sometimes the best opportunities in your career are the ones you didn't plan for. And so I was blessed in 2022. My senior vice president, Frank Passanante, he's global head of HWS and HRCC. He came and said, "Hey, we have this opportunity. It's industry relations. We want you to take it on. We think you'll do a great job with it." And so I said yes, without questioning it. Just yes, bring it on. And it really, for us, we wanted to take it where it was and elevate it because we knew it wasn't just about being a member of an organization. It was really about leaning into becoming an engaged leader and trusted advisor. And that just resonated with me at a level that I quite frankly never expected. And it was an incredible opportunity for me to lean in, say yes. And it just reminded me of what I tell people who are saying, "Kim, how did you grow in your career? What recommendations do you have?" When a leader's tapping you on the shoulder to take on a project or take on a new role, always say yes, because they see something in you that is allowing you to grow and evolve and supporting the enterprise at the same time.
And that's amazing to be tapped on the shoulder at such a huge company with such a great reputation. You know what I'm saying? Just to acknowledge you. And that's why we're so proud to acknowledge you as our partner of the year, to get that recognition at a company that is so instrumental in people's everyday lives, right? Everywhere you travel, you have to stay somewhere. And the wide breadth of Hilton properties are so amazing. Some of my favorite hotels on the planet are Hilton brands, from the top, the highest prestige ones to, you
Waldorf
know,
Astoria's. Yes.
exactly. I used to love staying there. Matter of fact, in the 90s, I was staying there like every month. And it's kind of cool when you have a job and you get to go to the Waldorf Astoria, like, whenever you're in New York, et cetera. But even, like the True brand. And, you and I
Mhm.
have talked about the Hampton Inn brand,
Yeah.
which I'm a huge fan
Beautiful.
of. And you've talked to me about their culture and everything. So, you probably have tons of partnerships. Um, sometimes they're just, okay, great, it's the 12-month mark. Are you going to pay us again to be your partner next year? And maybe they're just like on a slide somewhere or on a website.
Mhm.
What separates the partnerships that really create value for both companies moving forward?
I think it comes down to three things: collaboration, shared goals, and flexibility.
Hmm.
And I say that because partnerships that create real value for enterprises are those in which both organizations are actively working towards something meaningful. There's open dialogue. And Fred, you and I have had lots of conversations about what is important to Hilton. I believe that was one of your first questions to me when we started engaging.
Hmm.
And that allowed us to create a sense of trust, because I was able to share with you our goals, our aspirations, and then you said, okay, great, let's create a plan around
Hmm.
that. So there's that sense of trust, and then there's this willingness to adapt as the needs evolve. So I would say, again, collaboration, shared goals, and flexibilities. And there's also this sense about when we are purely transactional, where we just show up and we place a logo somewhere and we just move on, that's where you miss the real opportunity. To me, the magic is happening when both sides are invested in creating impact together. And whether that's through thought leadership, or it's leading some sort of effort to train our team members, things like
Hmm.
that. But it's what is the need of the enterprise that wants to align, and how do we grow and evolve that to ensure that they are getting out of this relationship what they need, while at the same time, IEPS is receiving something as well.
So not every company is great to partner with. It may not be part of their culture, et cetera. What are some mistakes that you've seen over the years that companies make that don't lead to the relationships prospering as well as they could?
Um, I think the biggest mistake that people may cause a relationship not to be strong is when you're approaching partnerships without clear intent.
Hmm.
And you're going to hear me say this probably throughout our conversation. What is the goal? Like, if we don't have a goal in mind, then we don't know what to work or back into. So, if we don't know what success looks like, it is very difficult to create meaningful outcomes. And let's face it, we have stakeholders within our organizations who are demanding and expecting that there is ROI in our engagement. And so it's up to the person managing the relationship with these industry organizations to tell the story in a very thoughtful, meaningful way. And I can't do that if I don't have a goal in place and I'm not measuring to the goals. So I would say that is probably the biggest issue that many people run into, is that they say, yes, sign me up, but there's no game plan. They probably go and participate with different events that the organization is hosting, but they're not even going in prepared, meaning, can we get a list of who's in attendance? Okay, which of these are my customers who I need to engage with? Did I reach out to them in advance? Hey, I see that you're here and there's going to be a breakout on marketing. And you had shared that you wanted to learn more about marketing. Can we do you want to do the breakout together? Okay, great. Perfect. Let's make sure we meet at the breakout, and then let's have a coffee afterward. Because people want to engage with people who are there. And let's face it, as salespeople, it is up to us to make that outreach to our customers. And what a nice way for our customers to feel seen when we acknowledge that, one, I see you on the registration list. Two, I want to have a meaningful conversation with you. And three, I'm not making this about selling my product to you. I'm making this about, let's connect, let's learn together, and let's talk about what we learned. And oh, by the way, then you can lead in with the sales on the back end. That's when I found it to be most successful.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of times companies will say, well, we never really got much out of the relationship. But then in retrospect, Did you schedule meetings? Did you come together with a plan? You're not going to have results if there's no plan that you can measure to, if
Yeah.
you will. Um, you mentioned again sales professionals. This is the Sales Game Changers
Mhm.
podcast. But the majority of people listening here are sales professionals. Give maybe two or three tips on
Mhm.
things that you would represent or you would suggest that they do to optimize the relationships and the partnerships that their company might have challenged them to be in.
Yeah. The first step for me is alignment. We need to define, as I mentioned before, how these partnerships support our broader strategy and then truly commit to the relationship. And that means going beyond being a member of an organization. Fred, this is something that I'm like, oh, I'll stick my head through a brick wall. Like, why just sign up but not participate? Like, I don't get that. Like, in a way, it's just a complete waste of money. So this means being actively engaged. And as a sales leader, if you are saying yes to the funding, taking money out of your budget for your team member or team members to be engaged with these organizations, then the next question is great, you signed up. That's wonderful. What committee are you on? Or what events are you joining? How are you getting engaged? And then during your weekly one on one conversations, bring that up because you're investing in them. And this is an area where people can learn to lead more. Right, because you can become a leader on the committee, you can network more. How many new contacts have you made? Who have you met? You can also bring your stakeholders into the organization from a thought leadership perspective. And in turn, you're building this trusted advisor relationship through the process, which then, in theory, the revenue will flow because people see you as more than just a salesperson. You're someone who's providing value into the conversation.
So let's talk about. I love that answer. So let's say someone who's maybe junior, and of course we have our emerging leaders program,
Yeah,
which is run by Gina, who runs our center. Gina Sracuzzi, who runs the
yeah.
Center for Elevating Women's Sales Leadership. Uh, it's an interesting time right now. Again, we're doing today's interview in March of 2026. We're talking to Kim Napolitano. She is the Institute for Effective Professional Selling Partner of the Year, and there are a lot of people, Kim, who are junior in their careers. And they may not realize the importance of being someone in the industry. It's interesting when I do talks to young professionals about how to optimize their sales career. One thing I always say is be known for something, right? Be
Mm,
known as maybe the cybersecurity person for the insurance industry or something. Maybe the skill set for an industry or the skill set for a geography. And one way that you develop and establish yourself that way is by getting involved with
mhm, mhm.
organizations and associations. And I guarantee you, if a company joins an entity, like if someone on your team reached out and said, "Hey, Kim, I'm really excited about what ASAE is doing. Can I maybe help you or participate?" I'm putting words in your mouth, but I'm sure you would be interested in at least having the
100%.
conversation. Just
Yeah.
give us some insights to that on how they should do it, how sales leaders maybe should look at the young professionals, and then give us some of your advice on what they should do. It's like the Woody Allen joke that 80% of success is showing up, right? So
100%. Yeah.
you ain't going to get known in the industry sitting at your cube or in your office or in your home office in, McLean, Virginia. It's out there. And that's the way it used to be, right?
Yeah.
So give us some more insights on that, Kim.
Yeah, it's asking, be proactive. Tell your leader, I want to get involved in XYZ organization. You mentioned ASAE, American Society of Association Executives. It's a great organization. It's the Association of Associations. Like this is where they all come together. And so if I have a team member who comes and says, I want to get involved in ASAE, MPI, PCMA, SITE, any of these organizations, GBTA, 100%, the answer is yes. What committee do you want to get involved in? Tell me what you know about the organization. What is it about the organization that's causing you to say, I want to get involved in the organization? Have you figured out roughly how much time you have to donate because, to give to the organization on a monthly basis? As a leader, I need to be able to define that to understand, do they have the bandwidth? Well, in addition to the bandwidth, it really is, do they understand what they're saying? Like, is it the right organization for them? Because I could say, oh, I hear what you're saying, but you know what? You're heavily focused in on this area of business. I'm going to recommend that you consider these two other organizations. So it's not a no, it's just let's define the right organization to get involved in. And then from there, what committee do you want to get involved in? Do you know anyone who's involved in the organization? And then I would look at it, well, do I know anyone who's involved in the organization? So I can start making some introductions. So that way, when they go in and they get, they go to their first meeting, they're going in with some, it's not cold, right? You got some warm introductions to at least do the handout to say hello and give a hand up into the organization versus we've all been there, Fred, right? Or we don't know anyone. We walk in a room and we're like, oh, and everyone thinks that all salespeople are very outgoing. Well, you'd be surprised by the percentage of people, salespeople, who are a little bit more, I would call them extroverted introverts.
Mm.
And so, it takes them maybe a few moments. So if we can give a little bit of a better opportunity to make it warmer, then it just allows the entry in a lot faster and more comfortable for our team members.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for the young professionals living out, listening to today's show or reading the transcript, and even people who are senior in a career, I mean, there's still time. A lot of salespeople that I know, again, we're based in Northern Virginia, although we have members all over the globe. A lot of our uh, selling professionals who are involved with the IEPS are involved with maybe some public sector entities like ACT-IACT as well. And, a lot of these organizations aren't just about the profession, they're about helping the customer achieve
Mhm.
its goals or get its mission together, or whatever it might be. So now that we're talking here, I'm reflecting back, even though I should be focusing on the interview, I'm reflecting back on some of the organizations I've been involved with and how some of the relationships are still active, 20, 30 years later. And
Yeah.
it's amazing that that comes back, right? It's
Mhm.
amazing that those things. So I'm sure that a lot of the people that you see at these organizations that you're partnered with are people that you've probably been working with for, you know, I'm not going to say how long, but for the extent of your career. Kim, before I ask you for your final action step, is there anything else that we missed? Anything else that you want to bring up here that you want to definitely get across to the audience?
First and foremost, Fred, thank you. Thank you for recognizing Hilton. Thank you for recognizing me with this incredible honor. We are just thrilled to be recognized in this space. And also for the additional recognition with the certifications that you've given
Mm,
to us as Premier Sales for Women and General for Sales
mm,
as an employer. Very huge honor that we received because we take a lot of pride in that. We put our team members first. We know that when they take care of our customers and our guests, that the rest will follow. So I want to say thank you for that. And as it relates to just being in the space of overseeing partnerships and relationships, what does that look like? It starts with the goal. What is it that you want to achieve, and then back into that so you can be successful. So because at the end of the day, we have to communicate up to our stakeholders to say this is what we achieved. But if we don't have a clear understanding of what our leaders are looking for and what the enterprise needs to make enterprise impact, we cannot tell a meaningful story. There's so much value that comes out of these relationships. We just need to be able to continue that. But to do that, it's through basically storytelling through data.
absolutely. All right. Once again, Kim Napolitano, congratulations on your exciting new role. Congratulations on being the IES Partner of the Year at our award event on April 29th in Northern Virginia. Give us a final action step. You've given us a lot of great ideas on how to build your partnerships and grow your business. Give us something specific, an action that people listening to today's show should do right now to take their sales career to the next level.
Mm. Oh, I love this question. I would say invest in your growth and your network.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is find a mentor. And whether the mentor is older or younger, depending on your age range and what you believe you need to learn, lean into that. Do not be shy in asking for what you need. Also, if you can afford one, get a coach, an
mm,
executive coach, and or see if your employer will pay for a coach for you. I feel like there's so much value that can come out of these conversations where people who can speak to you in a way that maybe your leader does not feel comfortable speaking to you can help get you to the next level in your career. And last but certainly not least, it's get involved in the industry organizations, actively contribute, serve on committees, participate in these conversations, and build relationships because this is how you develop your personal brand and you
mm.
expand your influence.
Yeah, and those organizations like the IEPS, we want people involved. We want to have people come to our programs and call us and wanted talked about how we can move forward the industry to help everybody understand ways that they could be more successful. All right, once again, my name is Fred Diamond. I want to thank Kim Napolitano for being on today's Sales Game Changers podcast.